So with 170 done and gone, and the review already taken place, it's time to say what fights I think should be made next. We're not going to review the whole card when it comes to these fights, we're only going to cover certain fights I think are going to have the most influence within either the Muay Thai, kickboxing or MMA scene. Kicking us off is going to be the Joe Nattawut versus Pampire Kiate. We're going to cover Joe Nattawut first. So, Joe Nattawut lost on the weekend to Pampire Kiate. Even though he lost, he still holds his place within the division. So he's still second. Personally, I don't know why he's still holding on to second, only winning 6 in his last 8. Personally, I think Joe Nattawut, a good fight to make is going to be a rematch between him and Luke Lisi. Luke Lisi is obviously hungry, he wants to get into the win column, he wants to get up in the division. Joe Nattawut, very big fan favourite. Right, always a fan favourite. And he beat Luke Lisi last time. So this is a fight which could go either way personally. It just depends on who's improved the most. So I think if Luke Lisi's just watched Kiate and how he beat Nattawut, I think if he can implement some of them, then Luke Lisi could beat Joe Nattawut as well. So I think that's the fight that I'd like to see more. Pampire Kiate, there's a couple fights he could go for here. Now, I said it in my review, I think he's next in line for the Muay Thai title. Because Superbon just lost. Joe Nattawut has just lost to Kiate. Sitchai lost to Shadow. And Luke Lisi's below him in the rankings and Kiate has already beat him. So I do believe Pampire Kiate is next in line for the shot at Tawanchai. But I can also see them making a Sitchai fight, saying that he has to beat Sitchai. And I also can see them making either a Masaki Nweri or even a Shadow fight. But I do think he's next in line and he should be given a shot against Tawanchai. From there, Nico, Carrillo and Nabil Anane, I think is the next one I want to cover. So, obviously, Carrillo's used to being the bigger man within the bantamweight scene, as he is 5'10", which, if you're comparing it to the likes of John Haggerty, who's an ex-champion who's 5'6", he's used to being the bigger fighter. In this instance, he was a lot shorter due to Nabil being 6'4". Starting with Nico, he hasn't lost, or he didn't lose for ages. He's beaten Ungo already. Oh, I'd love to see him against Nabate. Yeah, I would give him Kimran Nabate personally. Just below him on the rankings, has also beat Nongo, beat Sewer Black recently as well. So I think that one would be a good fight for him to stay up high within the division. And I keep mentioning the rankings. I don't really agree with the One Championship rankings. I don't like how they do it, because they use what reporters or what websites say, and then they do the rankings off of that. But if a website or a reporter is heavy biased towards somebody, then the ranking is now a load of shit. So personally, I think that they should have someone to actually do this for their job and have a team who decide who's where in the rankings. Because I think that's the one thing that One Championship lacks a lot when it comes to their website compared to the likes of the UFC, is just having a clearer rankings, because it's so unclear to a lot of people. But from there, Nabil Anane, I mean, there's no point that he, dragging this one out. He's obviously going to fight Superlek next. Right, he is the interim champion of the Bantamweight Muay Thai division. So he is going to fight Superlek next. I've already said he's a good fighter. I think he's good. I think he's more awkward than anything else. I don't really like fighters who are extremely tall or extremely fat, because I think it's more so using your anatomy rather than skill. But obviously you use what God gave you. Nabil Anane is very, very good, and he has jumped the line a lot by doing Nico Carrillo over, really. So everyone thought Nico Carrillo was supposed to be next in line. Now he's not. So he's lost his spot. Fair play to Nico, still taking a fight. But yeah, so I would do Nabil Anane versus Superlek, obviously. The next one is Fabricio Andrade versus Kwon Won. This one is a little bit of a harder one, since John Lineker is still ranked within the MMA scene, even though he's now doing Thai boxing a lot more. This is not my whole point when I say the rankings need to change, because he's doing Thai boxing so much more, but he's still ranked super high in MMA, but he hasn't fought in MMA for nearly a year. Well, over a year today. A year when I'm recording this. He hasn't fought in MMA in a year. To the day. So, he can't be number one. Oh, who would get it then? This is the problem. Then you got Stefan Lohman, who hasn't fought in ages. Kwon Won was supposed to be next in line. He's just got dominated. Someone who I have been impressed with more so recently is Bartakyu. I know he lost to Artem Belak, but since then he has beat 2 people by submission. He looked dominant, very dominant in his last one against Aaron Kiate. So I think I'd go Orgil Bartakyu personally against Fabricio Andrade. I'd probably put Kwon Won, and he'll probably be against Artem Belak, and that's the fight I would make for this one. I think that makes the most sense, since Artem Belak did beat Bartakyu, but he hasn't fought since. And I think, especially with one championship, you can't reward idolism. Right? If someone's staying idle, you can't reward them for it. You can't reward staleness and not fighting. So I think Bartakyu versus Andrade, and I think it'll be a better fight. Bartakyu's quite a big wrestler, so I think Andrade is not going to be able to use his striking to his best ability. And I think Bartakyu might have the edge if he can get it up against the cage, so it's a lot closer. For the last one, Tawanchai versus Superbon. This one is where it gets interesting, because there's a couple matchups I'd do. Personally, you could do a rematch between them, but for Superbon's belt instead. So that's a good one you could do. You could do the featherweight kickboxing belt, and you can put that on the line and have Tawanchai fighting for that. Obviously, you can also have Tawanchai defend his belt against Kiate. You could also, it depends on what Superbon wants to do, if he wants to go kickboxing or Muay Thai still. You could also do Kiate versus Superbon in a Muay Thai fight. I don't know what Superbon's intentions are, if he wants to go into kickboxing or Muay Thai still. He could fight Kiate. He could also get a bigger name fight against Nattawut Options or Luke Leasing. So there's people there for him, but I think Tawanchai, I think he should defend against Kiate or challenge Superbon for his kickboxing belt, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest fights of the year if you can make it. Tawanchai versus Superbon 3, and I think you try to make sure that fight gets done. But them are the fights I think make the most sense. Personally, I don't want to sit there and talk about anything else, because if I go into Jordan Estupinian, for example, I ain't got a clue how he's supposed to bloody get matched up against. He can get matched up against anyone within the flyweight division when it comes to Muay Thai. So it's just one of them. I do think Johan Estupiñán should get a top 5 opponent now, though, personally. But other than that, they are my picks for who I think people should fight after 170.